Okay, so this is going to be a very relevant, up-to-date, what is working right now in marketing. And then we're going to also give some real life examples of how you can be implementing this with art of homeownership and marketing yourself, your mission, how you serve people at a higher level with AOH. So the big one that everyone is talking about, and I'm sure you've heard it a number of times, is short form video. So this is what platforms are currently prioritizing and really pushing. So for when you really think about TikTok and Instagram, they are pushing the short form content, and that algorithm is favoring the people who are creating a lot of short form content. But what I want you to think about is what you should focus on really nailing down is your brand and who you are and the message that you want to be communicating. And it's a lot easier to get into these new platforms, even if it just is a fad and you want to try it out for a little while and then the platform ends up going away. Kind of like Clubhouse. If any of you even got onto Clubhouse, I think that's pretty much disappeared as of now. But when it comes to these platforms that come out, what you're really doing differently is just communicating the same message in a different way. So when it comes to, let's say, Facebook versus TikTok or Instagram Reels, on Facebook, you could easily have a 5-minute video that's walking through the mortgage process and how you do things differently. So whether it's holding an initial dreams and goals call that a lot of mortgage professionals really don't do, or if it's the annual financial review that, again, a lot of mortgage professionals don't do. So you're hitting on those things that are different about you in a long form type of way. But if you're talking about Instagram Reels or TikTok, you can communicate that same message, but it's just going to be in a much shorter, faster way. So you're just forming that same message differently and to kind of cater to the platform that you're talking about. So over time, your brand should really, for the most part, stay the same. There might be things that you start to implement differently or you change your beliefs in some sort of way, but for the most part, that is going to be something that is standard across all platforms, and it really stays the same over time. So that platform just becomes a tool that you use to communicate your brand. So right now, quick, valuable, short form content is the tool that is going to help you the most. So this is just an example of how you can use a short form video to communicate who you are as an art of homeownership professional. And I think we've talked about this before, but really with short form content, the most important part that can really make or break how many views you get on your video is going to be your hook. And if that hook is shown in the actual frame of your video, so if someone were to go to your profile, they would be able to see what that video is about based on the hook that's on the screen. And like I said, that can make or break content. It's actually kind of crazy how much that gets people's attention. So a hook that is dramatic and caters to what your audience cares about is going to get the attention. So rich is really a trigger word for people, whether we think that we're money oriented or not. Just as human beings, when someone says, do you want to become rich? The answer is yes. People want to know how to make more money. So the hook, do you want to become rich? And then you unpack the topic. Many Americans aren't keeping track of their wealth or managing it in ways that will make them wealthy over time. But as an art of homeownership mortgage professional, I advise my clients and consumers on more than just mortgages. It's about making the most of your wealth to get closer to financial freedom. So that is unpacking the topic and digging a little more into that hook. And then the end, you're going to have a call to action, which is you can make it as easy as possible for them to take action on this. So make sure that they're staying on the platform that you're posting on. So even if it's just comment, I'm in below to set up a free consultation and look at your path to financial freedom. That's something really simple. It doesn't take a lot of effort for them to do, and they don't have to leave that platform in order to take action on it. This one, marketing does not have to be boring. This isn't something that's groundbreaking. This has really been a concept for a long time, but I want to stress, and we'll send this out afterwards so you can look at this example. I won't show it now, but the example here is actually Ryan Reynolds has a marketing agency that helps other businesses with their marketing. So he was going to do a demo of this platform that he has. And he said, this is honestly going to be really boring and people are not going to want to pay attention to this. And I know some of us think that mortgages are fun and exciting, but for most people, they're not. So it's kind of the same concept of taking a topic that's boring to a lot of people and making it interesting. So what he actually did was he brought on the one guy from Jackass, and he had to eat a really hot pepper as he gave a demo of this platform. So it was something that was just different and it was funny. And you don't watch it and think, wow, they're really unprofessional. You watch it and think, wow, I could actually watch this and be entertained while you're still learning about what he wants to communicate to you. So it doesn't have to be, I think people get polished and professional confused a little bit. You can still be professional and work in your hobbies and humor into your marketing. It's just about who you are and being authentic. That does not come across as unprofessional, even if you might think that it's a little outside the box. I think we, especially in this industry, put ourselves into a box because everyone else is doing those same things and just talking very polished about mortgages. But you can really put your own spin on things, and it's going to be much more appealing to your audience when it's authentically you. So I would encourage you, when you're coming up with whether it's videos, emails, think about what you would want to see as a consumer. I think sometimes it's good to go through an exercise like that where you're thinking, what would I think, or would I really soak in this content if I were a consumer receiving this? Because a lot of the time the answer is unfortunately no. So email marketing, this is going to be a very tactical, these are things that are working right now when it comes to really all things marketing. So when you're talking about email marketing, so if you were, let's just use an example that you wanted to put on a webinar for consumers. So maybe you were doing it with a realtor partner, whatever it may be. And let's say you were hosting this webinar on a Thursday. If you were to send out an email on a Tuesday saying, this Thursday, catch this free webinar, that email would get a lower open rate than if you were to send it on Wednesday and say, free webinar happening tomorrow. I don't know what it is psychologically that we like the word tomorrow more than a day of the week, but that yielded a 28% higher open rate. With landing pages, this is one that's very common in the industry, is someone will try to use a landing page. So let's keep on the example of a webinar. If you wanted someone to register for this webinar and you sent them to a page on your website where there's navigation at the top, there's other buttons for them to click on, but it takes them to a page to register for this webinar, they're still going to get distracted because there are buttons everywhere. Just us as human beings, we get distracted, especially with everything happening with advertising and digital marketing. So best practice, if you want someone to take an action, send them to a landing page where it does not have any navigation or other buttons on it. And that has one call to action only. So they would go to this landing page and there would be a form for them to register for the webinar, and that's it. Because it's much more likely for them to complete that action that you want them to if that's the only thing on the page. Using free in the subject line, people like free things. It's like if it's a webinar or something, it just gets their attention. A lot of the time you don't have to pay to attend a webinar anyway, but it still just kind of fires off that green light to them. Sending emails not on the hour. So if you are to schedule, this happens a lot of the time when companies or anyone sending marketing emails will schedule out their emails to send. And a lot of the time they'll schedule them to go out at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. But instead of doing that, if you were to look at your inbox, your email inbox, on the top of every hour, there are probably promotional emails in it because that's what companies do. So instead, to stand out a little bit and increase that rate of someone opening your email, schedule it for 1:27 or 1:15, just not on the hour or even half hour, just so that you're probably more alone in their inbox versus other marketing emails. Having a testimonial on the page where they're submitting a form. So think for this one, an online mortgage application. If you want to send someone to complete the application, they're saying that 22% higher conversion if you have a testimonial near that page where they're submitting that form. I would recommend positive testimonials, not negative, but if they're going to submit that form and they see positive messages from some of your past clients, there's a 22% higher conversion with that activity. This one, I don't know how relevant this would be to mortgage because I have a feeling, and if not, then I would change this, but re-engagement really starts less than 30 days after inactivity, meaning you don't want to wait until someone is inactive for an entire month. So maybe you're mid-process with them, or you really had a conversation where they expressed interest in buying a home and you let them go for 30 days without having any sort of contact. They're already unengaged at that point. So you want to maybe give it a week before you're really following up, and you want to be persistent with it. So just don't wait that 30 days to label them as inactive. You want to really start the re-engagement process much sooner than that. Let me pause for a second here. Does anyone have questions about anything that we went over? I know that this is a lot of information. It's really quick. So I want to pause mid-webinar. Okay, I think we're good. Feel free to put it in the Q&A. I don't believe that the chat is enabled right now, but throw it in the Q&A if you have any questions. Interviewing styles and how to be impactful. So this was something they talked about at a recent event that I went to, and it was a wake-up call for me because I found a lot of the things they were talking about, I was very guilty of. So when you're, and this could be relevant, I have it on the next slide, but when you're creating content with other people, which I highly recommend you do in order to just get more exposure and reach new audiences, this is going to be when it is most relevant. So if you have a realtor partner, a financial advisor that you want to create content with, and you're going to be interviewing them, these are things to keep in mind. Number one, instead of planning talking points, plan topics. And this is really so that it's a lot more natural and authentic when they're answering the questions, and you don't force them into a corner when talking about the certain topic. So this is one that really speaks to the first point, which is avoid tell me about something. So let's just use, I think I saw Jody Amend is on today. So let's say I was interviewing Jody Amend and I said, Jody, tell me about how difficult it is to communicate with your clients in this sort of rate environment. Now, if she didn't feel like it's difficult to communicate with her clients, now I've forced her into this corner and this hole where she feels pressured to talk about that, but she might not even believe that that's the case. So if Jody really enjoys communicating with her clients right now because she does not rely on rate, she's really relying on her value long-term, then she's going to have a completely different mindset than what I'm asking her. So instead, I could say, Jody, what is it like right now communicating with clients in this sort of rate environment? That opens it up to be a lot more open-ended, and she can really give her own spin on the question instead of me kind of forcing her into this certain talking point or mindset. Don't allow the guests to introduce themselves, which is very easy to do. So again, if I'm interviewing Jody and I were to say, Jody, tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the industry and just how you got into mortgages. That is really a throwaway question, and it loses people's interest a lot, especially because unless depends, people in this industry sometimes are a little self-centered, but most people are not going to say the same things about themselves as someone else would say about them. So let's say you have someone on who has done a lot of public speaking, they have written books, and they've had all this success. They're not going to get on there and say all these great things about themselves. So you really want to give them that credibility to your audience. So do your research beforehand, get some information on how long they've been in the industry, any sort of accomplishments that they've had, so that you're not only getting them excited about the interview and creating content, but you're also giving them that credibility to your audience. So it really just validates the whole session and makes them a lot more engaged. Ask shorter and open-ended questions so that they don't have a lot of time to think about their answer and it's more thought-provoking. This might seem like you're kind of trying to throw them off, but it comes across as, again, you want people to be authentic. You want them to maybe take a second or two to really think about their answer. It makes it a lot more engaging for the audience because they come across as more of a human being rather than just having these canned answers that they have come up with before even coming into the session. Because I know for myself, if I'm interviewing someone, a lot of the time I will send talking points, but that's really where the topics come into play more than the talking points. So as long as they know what general topics you'll be talking about, they can come prepared, but still have sort of that candid answer when you ask them certain questions. And then ask the easy follow-up questions. Treat it like coffee with a friend. So this is especially relevant if you're doing more of a interview to learn about the person. Sometimes it can be, I mean, even if it's about the market or how realtors are serving their clients, if you have a question that pops up in your mind, it's very likely that your audience has the same question. So ask those easy follow-up questions so that they're really answering the questions that your audience wants to know. So these are just a few examples of how you could implement this in your business. So when you feature others in your content, you reach a new audience, just like I said before. So if you're going to be interviewing a realtor or a financial advisor and you're tagging them in all of your content and they're probably sharing with their audience because they're flattered to be on someone else's social media or session, so then you're reaching all of their audience that may not have ever seen you before. And the more that you chop up that content, post those clips, tag that person, you're going to continue to be in front of those people. So it's a really great opportunity to just get you more exposure with people who are likely local in your area, especially if it's a realtor and you're just getting in front of all of those people. So you could feature realtors on how art of homeownership has impacted their clients or even impacted their business when it comes to just serving people at a higher level. Because I think a lot of the time realtors don't always know how to create more value for their clients. So if that's a game changer for their business and you've had really great feedback from them, feature them on just a session where you're interviewing them and asking what really means a lot to them with the art of homeownership platform and just the mission as a whole. Interview a financial advisor about the importance of investing and when it should be done. This is something that I highly recommend you do because a lot of people don't have a financial advisor, or if they want a financial advisor, they likely already have one. So it's something that is not educated a lot in just society as a whole. So get financial advisors in front of your audience so that they can just be more aware of, you know, if you're making this much or have this much left over at the end of every month, then you should be investing. Like, give them this information to position yourself as the holistic advisor that you want to be. Even an interview with another mortgage professional at your company, just talking about how your company really positions things differently or serves clients differently. Talk about the current market, talk about how you're advising people. The more that you can get in front of people and talk about how you're different, the better. Okay, now talking about algorithms. I'm going to pause again and I'm going to stop sharing in case anyone wants to raise their hand and ask questions, because I know that this is a lot. Any questions so far? It's better if you raise your hand just because we can get your question a little more thoroughly. Okay, gonna keep going. Okay, so talking about the algorithm, this is something that a lot of people want to really figure out and get down to a science when it comes to the algorithm. And I will preface this by saying, making valuable, good content that people enjoy seeing is going to get you in front of more people no matter what. So if you have a very basic piece of content that you think you figured out the algorithm and you're going to post at this time and do all these things in order to beat the algorithm, it will still show to more people if you put out a valuable piece of content at the wrong time, or you're not posting it correctly on a certain platform. Like, as long as it's valuable and it's speaking to your audience, it will do well. But these are some things that you can do to just really amplify that if you're posting valuable content. So the algorithm formula is success equals algorithm signals multiplied by learning plus what people can't ignore. So I know that this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo that means nothing. So what you have to factor in is the things that we know each of the algorithms like, which means there's a different algorithm for every platform, which we're going to get into. And that's going to be the things that we learn from posting and seeing what our audience likes. And that is just going to come from being consistent. So as you start posting content, you're going to start to learn what your audience wants to see and what they really engage with. So you'll just learn that over time. There's really no way to, beat that algorithm. Each audience is going to be different. So you just have to post consistently and learn over time what they want to see more of. And then staying top of mind and creating value so that people don't have a choice but to notice your content and your brand. So this just comes, like I said, creating valuable content and what people want to see. They can't ignore that because they like seeing it. It's valuable. They're learning from it. So they're going to pay attention to it. So we'll talk about algorithm hacks on each platform. So on YouTube, if you're leveraging YouTube, what the algorithm favors is the amount of views within the first 24 hours after posting. So if let's say that you're doing a session with a realtor partner where you're interviewing them and you're doing that kind of two-person content, and you post that to YouTube, and let's say you want to distribute that in a few different ways. Maybe you send a marketing email and include a link and a recap to it, or you post on Facebook a clip of it with a link to drive them to the full-length video. You want to do that as soon as possible after posting to YouTube so that you get as many views as possible within the first 24 hours. So rather than posting it on a Tuesday and then sending all of that marketing out on a Thursday, you want to do it as soon as possible, because the more that people see it in the first 24 hours, the more YouTube will show it to a broader audience. Facebook is favoring long form videos, which, like 5 minutes or more, is considered long form. So I think that there is this, when you say 5 minutes, there's kind of this pressure to say, okay, I'm going to take this 3-minute long video and drag it out to 5 minutes. People likely are not going to watch 2 minutes of fluff. So you want to keep it still very concise, and you want to make sure that it's valuable content in that 5 minutes. But this could be a number of different things. You could do real life examples of affordability when it comes to mortgages. So maybe you run through a few different examples of what someone's salary would be with their credit score, and then what rate it would look like, what their monthly payment would be. You could run through 3 of those different examples, and that's going to be really valuable for people, and it will be catering to specific people. So it's going to be very specific to the amount that they make, their credit score, etc. TikTok encourages comments. So that is what the algorithm likes. So how you can do this, and I know that this was kind of popular, and I'll get to LinkedIn as well, but engagement pods have been popular in the past. So what that looks like is if someone posts a TikTok video, you send to a group of people that maybe they're also content creators in the industry. You send them a link to that, and they just drop a comment on your TikTok and like it, just show any sort of engagement so that the algorithm is favoring that video. I would also recommend, don't rely too much on that like engagement pod if you do create one, or really create a variety of them, because the algorithm will also know if it's the same people interacting over and over. They kind of get around that. It's like they know everything that you're doing. So make it different people each time you post a video so that it's just different people interacting with your content. Instagram live videos, this one is really jumping into deep waters if you are not very active on social media. So it can be very intimidating, but live video on Instagram, there's not a lot of competition. You don't see people going live too much. It's gained popularity for sure, but live video on Instagram is going to be the best thing possible. And then also short form videos, which we discussed already. But live video, you can even get on and do your interview style content. So if you wanted to feature a realtor or financial advisor, etc. Same thing with LinkedIn as TikTok, encourage comments. So that's where the engagement pods really started. You would take a few people in the industry and put them in a group message on LinkedIn. And then you would just send a link to a post that you posted. And then those people would go and interact with it just to kind of combat that algorithm. To generate leads, co-market with people. So this is what I was talking about, kind of borrowing audiences. If you invite partnerships on Instagram, so if you collaborate on content, be sure to invite that person as a collaborator on the post. You can just do a quick Google search on how to do that. It's really simple. It's just when you're going to actually post the content, but create content together in order to get in front of other audiences. So I would identify those referral partners that you really gel well with, and you have similar missions and mindsets. And that's a great opportunity to not only create content for social media, but also strengthen that relationship and kind of lean on each other a little bit more. Oh, I believe that is all I have for you today. And again, I know that that was really quick and that was a lot of information. So I will hang around for a minute. And if anyone has questions on this, again, I'll send out that full slide deck because there's some links that you can check out and a lot of nitty-gritty information. But any questions on any of this content? Hi, Jody.
Hi, I was just going to say the chat is disabled. So if anyone had a question.
I think you should be able to post in the Q&A.
Ah, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Anyone else in the Q&A, or feel free to raise your hand because sometimes it's easier. Okay. Okay, David, I think I've asked this before, but would you recommend starting with Instagram and moving to the others, or a different one first to get rolling? That's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a black and white answer for that. It kind of just depends on what you've already started or done. I think that Facebook and Instagram can, hold on one second. Facebook and Instagram can really work together a lot. So you can have your Instagram content pushed to Facebook, but I would just recommend when you're starting to record content, you might as well be repurposing that for other platforms. And what I mean by that, getting really specific, is if you were to record a video that looks like this, maybe you're recording it on Zoom, you can easily just go into Canva and edit that to make it a real, like real dimensions, and then post that same video on Instagram. So it's the same content, but you're just kind of structuring it a different way. I think right now, Facebook, and again, it depends on the audience that you want to connect with. So are you connecting with first-time home buyers that are more likely to be on Instagram? Or are you trying to target financial advisors where you would want to spend your time on LinkedIn a little more? So it really depends. I would get very specific on who you're trying to target and then where you already have a start, and just kind of take that and run with it. So if you would choose to get started on Instagram, I would say you might as well jump to Facebook too and have those two work together. But good question, David. I know that's there's a lot that goes into it. So if you ever want to get specific, shoot me a message and we can talk about it. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Well, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out, but we will send a full recap recording that goes out every Friday. So keep an eye out for that. And otherwise, we will see you in 2 weeks.